Hello and welcome to Wild Heart Yoga Holistic Healing for today's short yin flow that is geared towards runners. We are going to begin in Child's Pose today, so starting on your heels at the back of your mat. Go ahead and take an inhale as you take a big reach overhead, and as you exhale, slowly lower your chest towards the mat, walking those fingertips a little bit further forward with each exhale, thinking about keeping those glutes grounded to the heels here. And while you're here, go ahead and just set your intention for today's practice. Maybe setting the intention to remain present, connecting breath with movement to get the most out of this practice. This is also a great way to practice expanding our threshold for distress tolerance as we learn to sit with uncomfortable feelings or thoughts and breathe through that. Now as you exhale, go ahead and round forward through the spine, one vertebrae at a time, coming into tabletop. And let's take a few cat-cows. Inhaling as you drop the belly, looking up toward the sky. Exhale as you round forward, pushing those hips forward. Just moving like this a few times at your own pace. Waking up the body here, just getting warmed up before we get into some of our deep, long yin holds for today. Just a couple more times here, inhaling as you round into cat. Exhale, drop the belly, looking up. One more inhale, rounding into cat. Exhale, coming back to neutral. Tuck the toes and lead with the hips as you press your way back to down dog now. Just walking out your dog here for just a few moments. An inhale, right leg reaches up for three-legged dog. Then begin to stack the hips and take a few hip circles here in the forward direction. Foot should be flexed. Inhale, back to three-legged dog. Exhale, big step to the front of the mat, coming into high lunge. Arms reaching up toward the sky, extending behind you for a slight back bend. Then exhale, extend the front leg, coming into our pyramid pose. Inhale, arms sweep back up, high lunge. Exhale, wave it back down to pyramid. Again, inhale for high lunge, reaching high, feeling the stretch through the core, psoas here. Exhale, pyramid. Now we're going to hold our pyramid here this time. And while you're here, I want you to think about pulling that right hip back slightly and pushing that left hip forward just a bit. This will help keep your hips squared to the front of the mat and isolate the hamstrings better. We also want to make sure that we're bending from the hips here, not from the lumbar spine. So if you need to use some blocks or a stack of books to put your hands on, or put your hands on your front thigh above the knee. Those are all perfectly acceptable modifications. Or you can even bend that front knee and just work on extending it straight with each exhale as much as possible. Now, regardless of which variation you're in, go ahead and pull those toes towards the shin now, taking the stretch even deeper into the calf muscle. And then just experiment with it, figuring out what works best for you. So try turning those toes inward toward the center of the mat and outward, figuring out where the most tension is for you in these lower legs, and then hold it there for the rest of this hold. Breathing deeply through it. Good, now release, bending the front knee, heel-toeing that foot toward the outside of the mat, coming into our lizard pose. And here you want to think about turning that front foot so you're rolling it towards the outer edge of the foot, taking this even deeper into that right hip, as well as into the left psoas and hip flexor. Now if you'd like, you can begin taking some waves of the chest towards the mat, taking this a bit deeper, connecting breath with movement. Then exhale, release that back leg to the mat, taking yourself down to your elbows, or staying up on the hands if you'd like, maybe even pushing that right knee further away from yourself. Yin Yoga is meant to be a very individualized practice, so it's about tuning in, listening to our bodies, figuring out where tension is held uniquely in our own bodies, and then listening to our bodies, honoring it by giving it what it needs, breathing through these deep holds. About 90 seconds left in this hold, so keep breathing through it. One of the popular breathing techniques in yoga is called our ujjayi breathing, or giant breathing, where we breathe in through the nose, a long, slow inhale, followed by an exhale, like a deep ocean sigh from the back of the throat. maybe play around with that breathing. Just experiment with it and notice how it helps you get a deeper release. Often when we are feeling discomfort, we tend to shorten our breath and it makes us more tense. So as we breathe through this, we actually are able to relax our muscles better, which gets us a deeper release and deeper into these postures. Go ahead and take 2 more deep breaths. And release now, slowly lifting yourself back up. And then pivot yourself on your mat, just turning here so that the right leg is stacked over the left. And you can interlace the hands under that left knee as we come into our shoelace here. Maybe you want to take a few waves of the chest over those legs. Once again, thinking about bending from the hips here, not the lumbar spine. Once again, pull those toes in towards the shin, feeling this deeper stretch through the calf muscle. Turning the toes towards the inside of the mat, and then pointing the toes inward. So their toes are pointed but turned in towards the center of the mat here, taking this more into the outside of that lower leg, releasing the fascia and deep connective tissue here. This can be very intense in the ankles and shins if you never do this, or if you are a runner or a biker or hiker and are on your feet a lot. So remember, just keep breathing through it. This will get better with time. Keep it up, you're doing great. Just about a minute left here. Keep breathing in fresh oxygen into those calves and shins, and exhaling away tension with every breath. Coming back to that intention you set for yourself at the beginning of this class. One more deep inhale. And as you exhale, go ahead and release. Plant the hands back at the front of the mat, pivoting yourself back around, coming into our pigeon pose now. So think about getting that right shin parallel to the front of the mat. Back leg extended straight right down the middle of your mat. And begin taking a few waves of the chest over that front leg here if it's within your practice. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower yourself down to your elbows or maybe all the way to your belly here, finding stillness in this pose. If you're just sitting up today, that's completely fine also. If you're feeling like you're a little high and your hips aren't touching evenly, you can always use some blocks or a pillow to give yourself a little extra support here too. About a minute longer here. Great job. Go ahead and release now, lifting your chest back up first, planting those back toes and making your way to plank. Then take a chaturanga. Inhale for up dog, holding for a moment, shifting those hips side to side. Then exhale as you release back to down dog. Other side now. Inhales, left leg goes up, stack the hips, foot flex, and begin taking a few circles in the forward direction. Once again, moving at your own speed, making the circle as big as you'd like. Inhale, leg goes up, step through to the top of the mat, coming into our high lunge. Reaching far. Exhale, extend the front leg for pyramid. Continuing to think about keeping those hips square. Inhale, high lunge, reaching back. Exhale, extend, pyramid. Again, inhale, big reach. Breathing through this connecting breath of movement. And exhale, folding forward for pyramid. One more time, inhale, up for high lunge. And exhale as you release into pyramid. And begin taking a few waves of the chest here over that front leg if you'd like. Once again, thinking about keeping the hips square here. So imagine pushing that right hip forward slightly and pulling that left hip back just a hair. And once again, we're gonna pull those front toes in towards the shin here, taking this deeper into the calves. And play around with it, turning that foot inward and outward. Just seeing what speaks to your body the most, where the most tension is being held for you. And then give your body what it's asking for. Continuing to breathe deeply into those areas of tension. And with every exhale, imagining it just melting away. Just a few more deep breaths here. You're almost there. Great job. Release now. Bending that front leg, planting those hands and heel toeing the left foot toward the outside of the mat, rolling toward the outer edge of the foot, getting deep into the left hip. And then begin taking some micro movements again here. Maybe waving the chest up and down, or maybe rocking side to side just slightly. Figuring out where the most tension is being held for you, noticing where your imbalances are, and just taking note of that. Good, now release the back leg and go ahead and lower yourself down to your elbows if that's within your practice today. As you're here, just notice how this side compares to the right side. Many of us have imbalances, and that's pretty normal. But this is a great chance to tune in, to be aware of those imbalances, so that we can focus on targeting them and correcting them over time. About one more minute, keep breathing through this, increasing that threshold for distress tolerance, breathing through the discomfort, inhaling deeply relaxation, exhaling away anxiety or stress, tension. One more deep breath here. Then exhale as you release yourself, pivoting around again for our shoelace. This time left leg is stacking over the right leg. And once again, you can interlace those hands under the knee to protect it a bit better here, or you can reach for that ankle if that's within your practice today. Again, we're just starting with a few micro movements over those legs here, figuring out where the tension is in your body. And go ahead and pull those toes in towards the shin again, really focusing on those calves and the shins as we begin to turn the foot again, pulling the toes, figuring out the area with the most tension for you. I think many runners probably neglect to stretch their ankles as much as we should, and the shins and lower legs in this way. It can become really easy to become impatient when you already spend a lot of time out on a run or training to then also incorporate the steep stretching. But this is so important to keep us healthy and strong so that we're able to keep doing the activities that we love. This is something that I definitely did not prioritize enough back in my collegiate running days, and feel like I probably could have avoided many, many injuries had I done this back then. About a minute left here. Keep breathing through it, focusing on the Ujjayi breathing, getting a deep release. Staying present. If your mind is wandering, just gently bringing it back to the present moment. The sounds around you, the sensations within your body. Just noticing the patterns of thoughts that are occurring when you get distracted. Each exhale, see if you can bring yourself a little bit closer towards those legs, forehead towards the shin, thinking about pulling your chest out and down to get that bend from the hips here. Just one more deep breath here. Then exhale as you release, planting your hands at the front of the mat again and pivoting yourself for a pigeon on the left side now. Once again, thinking about keeping that front leg parallel toward the front of the mat. It might not stay entirely parallel, but just get it as close as you can. And that back leg extended straight down the middle of the mat. And once again, we can take some of our micro movements here, waving that chest up and down. And exhale as you settle down to your elbows. Finding stillness here. This is your reminder to once again come back to that intention you set at the beginning of this class. About a minute left in this pigeon. Great job. Now on your next exhale, go ahead and lift yourself back up, raising the chest first. Tuck the back toes, making your way into plank. And take a chaturanga. Inhale for up dog. Then exhale, releasing back to down dog. Now bend the knees, hop to the front of the mat, and begin to lower yourself down to your back, grabbing those big toes with your peace fingers, rocking side to side here, massaging the lumbar spine. With every exhale, think about pulling those knees closer to the mat for this happy baby pose. Maybe playing with it, extending one leg, then the other. Great job. Release, point the legs up toward the sky, give them a quick hug, then lower them down toward the mat, arms extended beside you, palms facing the sky, as we take our final pose for today, our Savasana. If you are tempted to end the video here, I would really encourage you to stay for the Savasana. This is a really important part of our practice where we learn to tolerate stillness even more so. This opens up our mind, giving us more clarity and stillness and focus throughout our days when we can learn to be intentionally still like this. While you're here, scan your body, noticing any areas that are still holding tension. And with your next exhale, see if you can release that tension a little bit further, finding this deeper state of relaxation than you have yet throughout this class. Releasing the jaw, the tongue from the roof of the mouth, the facial muscles. Relaxing the shoulders, the arms, the hips, the legs, all the way down to the feet. Alright, if you are ready to end with me today, on your next inhale, go ahead and reach those arms overhead, taking one more big stretch of the body. And as you exhale, go ahead and turn onto your side for fetal position, and slowly make your way into seated for our final closing breaths together. Inhaling as you sweep the arms up, and exhale, hands to prayer at heart center. One more time, inhale, taking a big reach, and exhale, thanking yourself for taking the time for this practice today. Thank you so much for checking out today's class. I hope you enjoyed this practice, and I will see you again soon. Namaste.